All right, very pleased to be joined by Lydia Ko after her second round here at the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. Bogey-free round today, 5 under. What was working so well for you?
I hit the ball pretty well, and I putted a lot better than yesterday. I was a little bit worried about my long game going into the round yesterday, but it was a lot better than I anticipated, and I gave myself a lot of good looks for birdies, and I was missing it on the side that I normally don't miss it. So I was kind of confused, but I had a slight equipment change. It was the same putter, but a different of the same putter yesterday. And I quickly realized that I shouldn't abandon the putter that was so good to me last year. So I brought that back today. And even though I felt like a few more putts could have dropped, I still putted it a lot better. And all I can do is just put a good stroke on it. And that was, you know, most improved. So I feel like I'm trending in the right direction, not only in the score, but just how my game was played out.
Speaking of, was there any kind of differences you noticed in your game today versus yesterday? Maybe yesterday a little shake off the rust a little bit, and now you're back into the swing of it?
I hit a couple more greens today, but other than that, I still played decent. A few careless three putts coming in, and a few short putt misses, and sometimes it's about the momentum, right? You're shooting 1 under, and if a couple drops, then you're a few shots in under par. But when you keep missing, it's kind of hard to see the ball go in, and I feel like I kind of got into that run. But I made 3 birdies in a row today, and a couple of them were mid-range ones, so it was good to kind of see a good difference. But yeah, I think I got off the golf course yesterday, and I asked my mom, which is a perk of having your house so close. I was like, Mom, I think we need to bring the putter back out. So I brought it and practiced a little bit with it and took it out. And I'm sorry to my putter. Yes, I apologize. Yeah.
I'm going to ask a really dumb question, but did you request a new putter, or how does that work?
It was me problem or something that I had created. Technology is in golf equipment and everything is just advancing, and I tried to go to more of a face bounce style putter, and sometimes I think under pressure your stroke changes. And I was putting really good with the putter that I had used yesterday in my weeks leading up to this, so I had no doubt that I was going to struggle and see some of the misses that I saw. But I think when you are under pressure, and as much as you're still having a good time, it's different. Playing competitive rounds and just playing around with some of my friends out here. And I think the consensus was that sometimes when it is so forgiving or makes it easier, I think it takes the athleticism out a little bit. And I know that sometimes I have pulled my putt or pushed it a little bit because of my gut feeling on how this putt's gonna break, and I've holed a lot by doing that. And I think I almost try to cheat myself out by having a putter, even though it's the same exact putter, just a little bit different in the spec, to make my life easier. But I realize that there might be consequences with that, and obviously it's not the putter's fault, it's always the puttee's fault. But I think I was just having a difficult round on the greens. To come back to something that I'm familiar with and I know that I've putted well with, was, I think, a good change for me. But yeah, it's never the equipment's fault. Last time I checked, and that putter I used yesterday was a putter I used to get the Player of the Year in 2022. So clearly, the results back up my consensus. But it's just, I think sometimes, like the saying, when they say it's never broke, why change it? And I learned it the hard way yesterday. And it's not to say I'm never going to change my putter again or never going to change, something again. But, we sometimes have to learn through our mistakes and our decisions. And I don't have any regrets doing that. But and I was able to learn. So now if I do other putter testing, I know what style to kind of look for.
What, remind me the model of the putter?
It's a P5. It's not one of the standard Scotty Camerons, but I've been using it since like the fall of 2021. So I've only really gone out of that model for a short period of time in 2023, but it's kind of a putter that I've always gone into, and I have a couple of the same putter, and I just kind of change it around. But I came back to the putter that I played with pretty much from Chevron onwards last year.
Okay, thank you.
I suppose you could just say that your putter from last year got the message from being benched for a day, right?
Yeah, it was weird. I traveled with 2 putters to Europe last year, and I said, okay, I'm gonna putt with the putter that I've been playing with at the Olympics because I know how it feels and I know what it's doing. But I said to myself, and I told my coaches too, and I'm pretty sure Paul, that I was gonna change at the end of the week at the Scottish Open to a different one, and then I won. So sometimes blackmailing maybe works. And Mark said at one point, "Oh, your ball must have ears. It listens. When you say sit, it sits." And we were joking. Yeah, we pay a little bit more expensive price to get equipment that listens. But yeah, it's weird. Sometimes it works out like that. But I think over my time, I've just realized that there are always certain things that I look for in my equipment. I may have had different styles, different models, but they all kind of have a very similar characteristics to it. So I never veer that far off, but it's in ways sometimes good to change it up a bit because you start learning more about your game. And I feel like the last few years I've gotten a lot more, my bandwidth of knowledge on golf clubs and equipment is a lot bigger, which gives me more flexibility, and at times, I'm not having to learn from bad mistakes.
You might have just touched on this, but what is kind of the balance as a professional between sticking with something that you're very comfortable with and has been successful, and yet trying to take advantage of the new technology and things that are out?
Yeah, I haven't really changed my clubs at all since 2023 September. I've used the same model of irons. Have been using Vokey wedges, and so it's a lot of them has not changed. Luckily for me, I'm kind of in a position where I can play the best of what's out there and what suits me. And sometimes it is pretty tempting to try the new X, and they say it goes 3 mile an hour further or X amount of yards further, but I was like, at that point I should be hitting it 300 yards by now. But the technology is so much better. Now somebody that hits a draw, you can find clubs that will help you hit a draw or cut high or low, and I think if we can use that to our advantage, that's great. And so it's really difficult to say one brand is better than the other because all brands are, really good, and it's just finding what works well for you and what you're most comfortable with.
Is this the quickest you've ever taken a club back out of the bag?
Yes. One round, and I was texting, the Scotty Cameron team, and they've been, really great. I'm not sponsored by them, but they've just been great to work with because I'll sometimes be like, oh, it's this, and then if I was in their shoes, I'd be like, wow, she's a lot, but they're always super supportive, and it's great to work with a team like that. And it only took one round, but that's why I think the biggest test for any type of equipment, even shafts to balls and club heads, you really have to play under pressure. And sometimes I wish I had more, I was a bit more courageous, and I wanted to try a few more things, but I normally get a little timid and feel like changing, especially during the season, is not a good time. But when you feel like it's got to be done, you obviously have to do it. But I just realized more of what my tendencies are when I'm nervous than like what's wrong with the putter. It was just more what I do technically. when I'm, playing competitive rounds, and it really counts.
Nelly was in here just before you, and she had done the exact same thing, but with her driver. And she switched right back. But she said it had an impact on her game as a whole because then she was doubting one part of her game. Did you feel like that yesterday with the putting?
I think, everything's about momentum. It doesn't take much for us to, get worried about the consequences of the next one. And, for her, it may have been the driver. And for me, I was like, oh, am I going to hold this one? And because I want to hold it, I'm getting a little bit more and more aggressive. And, being aggressive is great, but you also have to be smart. And I think I was, the doubt was creeping more and more in my mind. And it wasn't so that I was blaming my putter, but I just realized that, I am a little bit pushy in my stroke, which I had never thought I was. And if I have a club that's maybe a little bit too face balanced, I'm not going to square the club face in time. So it's, obviously finding the right equipment for you. But I mean, she had an unbelievable year last year with her driver, and I had a great year with my putter. So people may think, wow, why did you guys change? But I think we changed because we believe at the time that that's going to make our scores better and we're going to play better. And I think if you don't have the mindset of always wanting to get better, then I think you're not only going to stay at the same spot, but you could potentially go backwards. So having the mindset of knowing that there's always aspects in your game that you can improve on is, I think, great. And that's why the world's best and the world number one still does it.
If that's the quickest you've ever taken a club back out of the bag, how long do you usually give some new equipment to settle in before deciding if you want to keep it?
I changed my putter a lot in my rookie year. It was a different brand to what I was using before then too. So sometimes it depends if you're contractually obligated. But for me, the last few years, I haven't been handcuffed, and I've had the freedom to try everything. But normally I say it's like my fault, and I think it is my fault. It's obviously my fault when it wasn't. When I wasn't missing it to the right during the practice rounds, and I was all of a sudden doing that in tournament. But it's it's normally like a couple months, and then I go, okay, forget it. But I don't change a lot because, like I said before, I'm normally scared to change because I'm worried about the consequences of changing. Then trying to figure out with what I have and not put something else to kind of replace it.
Mike Brodsky, Florida National News. Lydia, Don Cheadle had mentioned earlier in the week his friendship that he has with you. Can you talk a little bit about that friendship and the connection that you have to Don Cheadle?
Yeah, we first met like 13 years ago. There's a photo that the LPGA put up yesterday, and I look, it's literally almost half my age. So yeah, he looks even better now. I look better, I think. Yeah, good thing puberty and all that hit. But yeah, he played. I think it was one of the rare occasions where he came out and played like a tournament like this almost in New Zealand, and I think he had a great time there. And ever since then, he was in Seattle, and we had dinner in Seattle when we had the KPMG Women's PGA in 2016, and then we played out in Scottsdale. But he's just a great person, and every time I play well, and even when I was on the podium, he had sent a video, and it was just really cool because he is so successful in what he does, and I don't know many actors that directs and also gets Grammys, Emmys, Tonys, like all of the above. So he just speaks for himself, and for him to be such a huge supporter, I'm very grateful of that. And you can see how much he loves the game, and I'm just very grateful to be surrounded by amazing people like him. And it's a huge inspiration, and being out there yesterday with him and Mike and obviously today being out there with Annika, who's obviously one of the greatest all-time female athletes. It's been a dream come true, these past couple of days. So it's really thanks to, HGV and Mark for giving us this cool opportunity to meet these people and spend time with the greats of all different industries.
Can you critique Don's golf game a little bit?
He chipped in yesterday,
Okay.
so he made a birdie on a hole that I parred, so he one-upped on me there. But he hit some really good shots, and it's different. It's different for us, between a Wednesday to a Thursday, and imagine how different it is to him. If somebody told me to go act right now on this new TV series, I'd be as frozen as whatever. So it's just this is out of his comfort zone, and even for us, as much as we do this, it's not ever comfortable, and it's just really cool that I was able to share that moment with him yesterday, and I really hope he has a great time this week, and he comes again and again, and give a run for the trophy.
Very good. Well, best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Leona was talking about your push-up bets that you have, which I think you've been doing since COVID, if my memory serves. What's the highest number of push-ups that you've done on any single hole?
On any single hole, the most I could do is 10, because I played that with Lindy Duncan a lot, and then Leona has played too. And if somebody makes a birdie, you have to do 5, and if I make a bogey, you have to do 5. So the most you could do is 10. I think earlier this month, I played with Lindy, and I did 25 push-ups in 9 holes, and it was in a span of a few holes. So I was getting really frustrated, but then when you make bogeys, you're like, okay. And I'm like, why am I doing 5 for her birdie too? But that was just how we stayed competitive over COVID, and it's kind of what we do, and it's silly because I'm sure a lot of people play for money, and $5 might be easier than doing 5 or 10, 15 push-ups. So it's kind of become a fun game, and you kind of laugh when the other person's having to do it on the next tee box or by the side of the green, and other people walk by. So she has helped me to be in better shape. And she says my push-up form is a lot better than before, because she has very amazing push-up form. Lindy does. So I'm glad I'm going up to her level.
How is Leona's push-up form?
I haven't actually seen, we haven't really done one as of late, but when we go to the gym, all of us, we play, we practice, and then we're all at the gym at a very similar times, and she works hard, and she's one of the hardest working people I know, and obviously it's really cool to see all of us pros, especially here at Lake Nona, because you see everyone puts in a lot of work, and it definitely shows, and it's really cool to be a part of that kind of group, because I think without us really telling each other, I think it motivates all of us to kind of keep working hard and be in check.